we want our money to go up. Essentially, we want this bell curve. That's the bottom line. So there are seven chakras in your body, and you're always traveling. And these seven chakras are the hubs for your emotions. When you put it in proper order and really like understand that, then you get to create your signature financial flow, which is the way you always should be flowing, and how you can actually build the wealth of your dreams.
Welcome to the Thought Leader Revolution with Nikki Ballou. Join the revolution. There's never been a better time in history to speak your truth, find your freedom, and make your fortune. Each week, we interview the world's top thought leaders and learn the secrets of how they built a 6 to 7 figure practice. This episode has been brought to you by eCircleAcademy.com, the proven system to add 6 to 7 figures a year to your thought leader practice.
Welcome to another exciting episode of the podcast, The Thought Leader Revolution. I'm your host, Nikki Ballou, and boy, do we have an exciting guest lined up for you today. Today's guest is a true thought leader and the man who created the unbelievable concept of financial chakras. I'm speaking, of course, of none other than the one, the only, the legendary Ash Shukla. Welcome to the show, Ash.
Thank you so much, Nikki, for having me here. I'm so happy to hear that. I'm so happy to have be here. But most importantly, I love your introduction. So thank you.
Yeah, you bet, man. You bet. So, Ash, tell us your backstory. How'd you get to be the great Ash Shukla?
How did I get to be great Ash Shukla? Okay. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for having me here. I really appreciate you. And those of you listening, I want to let you guys know I love you. Okay. And that being said, let's get started. So I originally came here from India, Nikki, with 20 bucks and no English. I grew up here in Maryland. I was a financial advisor for 27 years. I wasn't bad. I was pathetic when I started. I had to blackmail my dad through my mom to get the um, first sale, if you will. And eventually I was managing over $300 million. And, in 2008, 2007, somebody that I knew very closely scammed me and I lost about $250,000 and in the scam. And essentially, that's what brought, I got really, taken, if you will, internally, and it hurt me very badly. And I went to my grandfather. At the time, I was doing about $5 million a year in business in the financial space. And I was like, okay, how do I bounce out of that? And he helped me get aligned. And once I got aligned, I literally doubled my business in 6 months. So I asked him, has anybody proven how chakras exist in finances? And he's like, that has never been done. So I jumped in it and I figured out mathematical formulas on how, you could do that, using chakras and energies. And I've been teaching that since 2008. And I started doing speaking engagements out of the blue, Nikki. And next thing I know is I've helped over 5,000 entrepreneurs. And more importantly, I received a congressional honor for the work I've done. And I wrote a book, Sell Like Crazy, in 2012. And now I have Financial Chakras is the fifth book coming out to really help people out. So that's how I got here, buddy.
So you came from India with $20 in your pocket. You built a $5 million a year income as a financial advisor. And then you got into the speaking field because you got excited about financial chakras. So what the hell is a financial chakra?
I am so happy to hear ask me the question. So it's a formula that I have created to really help people find their signature financial flow. So many times, people struggle, like, so there are four things that are going on. One outcome we want in the financial world, or is it in a business world, or in a revenue world, right? We want our money to go up. Essentially, we want this bell curve. That's the bottom line. But what tends to happen, Nikki, is that we either find ourselves either stuck, where we are at through our limited thinking, limited belief, all these things. The second scenario I find us is in more of a sideways trend. So we're going up and down, but if you take a look at our life and we go, what the heck have I been doing? It's literally almost sideways, right? And the third trend that I find is that emotionally, internally, you're always going down. So financial chakras, my specialty is to help you create financial breakthroughs, internal financial breakthroughs that are really stopping you. Like an example, I was talking to literally right before our call, I was talking to somebody and they want a strategic planning done. And I was talking to, they used to be a physical therapist. And I started to talk to them and have a conversation with them. And they could literally say, like they said, they ran a successful therapy practice in the past. And their belief was, more anxiety means more money. That was a belief system. Okay. So to them, that's how they built it successfully. They sold it. And now it's time for them to, like, they want to relax and they want to build it different way. And they're like, I can't get myself to, get to the next level, or I can't see the, at the end of the rainbow, if you will. So, Nikki, what I find with financial chakras energetically inside, you're always traveling within your seven chakras, right? So there are seven chakras in your body, and you're always traveling. And these seven chakras are the hubs for your emotions. They start with the root chakra at the base of your spine. It's in between your privates, right at the tailbone. And these seven chakras hold your emotions. In the base chakra is fear, anxiety, uncertainty, and also, it also has the certainty and grounding mechanisms, right? So ultimately, we are looking for that grounding. We are looking for the safety that everybody's really shooting for or looking for, and everybody measures safety differently. To a risk taker who comes from a second chakra, right? To a heavy risk taker, like if you are an extreme risk taker, right? That safety means you have to jump off the bridge. That's their safety zone, right? To as somebody who is very conservative, the safety means, you know what? As long as you stay on the ground, you're going to be safe, right? So it just depends on what your belief systems are, and then the questioning of how are you flowing internally, that's creating your current reality, and how do you create your signature financial flow. So everybody has an epicenter in their body that they derive from. So second chakra is all about creativity, and third chakra is all about importance, and then fourth chakra is all about love and connection, and fifth chakra is all about growth and speaking and making sure you speak your truth and stuff like that. And in your sixth chakra is all about like serving and intelligence and things of the nature in your third eye. And last chakra is all about having you need absolutely nothing. The issue that I run into is that most of the people come from there, they have their primary energy, and then they have their current flow. And that current flow is what's stopping them or taking them downwards or going this way. So they go from they bounce like a bouncy ball, if you will. So, 1 minute they might be saying, "Hey, I'm a very heart-centric person." I'm sure you met some people like this, where they're very, very, very much heart-centric, and they're like, "Yeah, but I also like to be creative." And then they go here, there, and everywhere. So, what they're doing really internally, right? They're very intelligent, and they want to absorb all the knowledge, and they want to get this and get this and get this and get this. And what I find is that they are heart-centric, but now they're going to third chakra, and then they're traveling into their second chakra. So they're traveling in some way, and that's their current financial flow. And what I find is when you put it in perfect, a proper order, and you put it, like outside of your body and really like understand that, then you get to create your signature financial flow, which is the way you always should be flowing, and how you can actually build the wealth of your dreams, whatever that is. Whether it's a business, whether it's just saving money, or whether it's paying off your debts, it's irrelevant.
Okay, so I mean, you explained the chakras, but I've heard these explanations for chakras outside of the financial aspect of a chakra. So how is this, for example, the base, the root chakra, how is the financial chakra, base root chakra, different from the regular chakra, base root chakra?
Okay. So the until now the chakras have been talked about as the principles of the body, right? It's a principle of the body, right? So the financial chakra piece of it comes into play. First of all, every chakra is connected to your finances in one way, shape, or form. For instance, in the root chakra basis, when you are coming from a fear or anxiety or uncertainty, it's a level of frequency that you are generating. So that particular frequency is what's bringing into reality. That's the first thing, right? So whenever you're looking to take action or whenever you're looking to move forward, okay, the first thing that happens is if you're coming from the space of fear, okay, it's basically creating a stoppage. Now that stoppage is actually hurting your potential, whatever the potential is. I have created a mathematical formula on how to measure your potential in dollars. So what it does is, what you find is that this fear is actually directly contributing to your ultimate potential, whatever that is. So let's say it's a Elon Musk is $500 billion. Okay, let's just say there's a potential that's where he's at. Okay, so from that being said, you know at this point, if you whenever that person comes from the fear base, okay, that person is actually hurting their potential, not reaching ultimate goal, right? So it's actually hurting them financially. But more importantly, there are specific instruments based on your chakras that actually suit you, and there are specific instruments that don't suit you, right? So if you look at, like, for instance, a YouTuber, right? Or you take a look at somebody who is from a marketing speak, right? If you take a look at a YouTuber and the way they do YouTube videos, okay? Um, And if you take a look at Facebook and then the way they promote Facebook videos, right? Actually, they have specific methodologies by which they particularly like, in terms of how they want to promote your content. So if you're coming from a space from other than what those two platforms like, you will never make it to your potential. So in the game of, like, business, that's what it boils down to. In game of financial instruments, there's actually specific financial instruments that fits a specific type of individual energetically, and where you're coming from and who you are.
So how do you figure that out as an individual? For example, let's use me. How do I figure out what's best for me?
That's a great question, right? So the first thing I ask everybody is that, okay, first, if you just take like a stop for a second, doing anything that you're doing, okay, and you ask yourself from the like, when you were little. If I was to ask you, Nikki, right, when you were little, tell me a little bit about your childhood. Let's start from there. So tell me a
Well,
little bit about your childhood.
I was born in Iran and I lived there till I was 13 years old. And then we came to Greece for 2 years and then to Canada, where I've lived ever since, except for 2 years where I lived in the US and a few months where I lived in Dubai. Other than that, I've been in Iran. I've been in Canada since 1982.
Okay,
Um,
what kind of child were you when you were a child? Were you a rambunctious child? Were you a goody two shoes
no,
kind of a child?
rambunctious.
Rambunctious child. Okay, so you like taking action, right? Quite a bit. Okay.
Yeah.
And I also noticed that like, when I asked you the question, uh, even in our podcast, when we talked, or when I asked you the question, it was very much of a logical answer. So when you are looking at something, like, even when you're asking me questions, you're looking for a end result kind of a situation. Okay, how do you get to this state, right? So basically, just from those two questions, I can tell you that you are the kind of person who, so you like taking big risks, which is true, right? But you're also like very much logical people. Like, if you go to somebody, or if somebody comes to you that's very much creative all the time and going all over the place, it would probably say, "What the heck, man? Like, what
Yeah,
are
it's
you really
fucking
doing?"
crazy.
Right? So
Fucking crazy. Yeah.
it drives you crazy, correct? Right? So right there, so by you not understanding that person, you lost money. Hence financial chakras, right? So right, like that little simple example I just gave you, by you not understand that person, where they're coming from and how they flow, your grounding, what you find grounding is actually in risk taking, because you like taking risk, right? But you also like to get to straight to the point. So your logics are very short. When I asked you a question, tell me about your childhood. I grew up in Iran. I did this. I did this. I did this. I did this. It wasn't a very much of a detailed answer. If I had asked a heart-centric person that same question, the question they would have been, "Oh, when I was a little boy, I was so happy and I was all over the place, and I had so much fun with my parents, and I had this kind of childhood and that kind of childhood, right?" So you flow differently, buddy, and you actually attract certain type of clients by default. with ease. Make sense?
Yes.
If you run into a certain other type of client, you don't know what to do with that. And hence, one of two ways. A good news is you don't deal with them. But let's just say that is a bad news and say you do want to deal with them and they do have money and you see potential, right? And then you ask yourself, do I want to go through all that pain and agony to deal with that person?
Well, my
So just,
girlfriend is very the opposite of me. So we bring her
she
into the
should be.
conversation. So
Yeah.
I bring the let's get to the point energy, and she brings the I love you and you're fabulous energy. So the two of those work very well together.
Yes, they do, don't they? I would have assumed that your my spouse is completely opposite of me, so I understand that, right?
Yeah.
So
Like we had a
in
meeting
this,
with a potential client on Friday
yeah,
that passed. And listen, I love people. You know, I love people. You and I have talked before, and I have a lot of care and desire to help them. But I was asking the questions to get to the point, and she was asking the questions to like touch their heart. So between the two of them, it worked great, and they signed up with us. So
right, and they should, right? So
yeah,
it's a good match for you, and
yeah,
that tells me that your girlfriend is a good match for you, right? So she kind of completes you, not kind of, but
yes.
she does complete you, correct?
Business wise, I think it's absolutely true. The two of us, like me by myself, I wouldn't do as good, and she by herself, she definitely wouldn't do as good. But
Exactly,
together is bigger than the sum of the parts. Does that make
exactly.
sense?
Yes, absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely. So am I making sense now, right? So
yeah.
from an energetic point of view, imagine you're not alone. You have a girlfriend, but you didn't have a girlfriend, right? That would be a very difficult conversation to have for you.
Yeah, it
For
would.
her, if she met a logical CEO, like a literally left brain or right brain CEO, that's very, very much of a totally like boom, 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 right? She would have really difficult time with him,
She
for
would.
her, for that matter, right? But for you, that would be very easy.
Very easy.
So hence, if you lose the deal, right? In this case, you won't because you have a girlfriend that understand that piece, right? But everybody has a signature. Does that make sense? She flows in a different way. You flow in a different way. So these are just two chakras, but there are seven chakras. So you flow, you ping pong somehow. You do it quick, and you don't realize it. It's like boom, it's done, right? So when somebody says something, it's boom, it's done. But there's a process you followed. The process for you is signature is it's so quick, like that's the answer, right? For her, it's like this is the answer, but it's her way. But she follows every single seven chakras, and she follows the same process, and you follow the same process. The question is, what is the process? Number one, and then how do you perfect that process and create a signature out of that so you can actually make it wherever you are, but like 10 times bigger, right? So that's where financial chakras comes into play because you heard about chakras and chakras until now. Like I can show you how chakras exist in this cup, right? Or in a cup of coffee or in financial instruments.
Yes.
So, i.e., I'll give you an example of like, let's just take a financial instrument like banking, as simple as that, banking, right? And if you take a look at savings accounts, okay,
Yeah.
and if you really hear the words savings account, and you and I, like when we hear savings accounts, I'm like, yeah, I'm not so sure about that. But, well, it's not exciting, correct?
No,
But
no, no.
no,
I have some savings accounts, but I like to go to investment accounts more.
exactly, right? So if I was to ask you what kind of investments do you like the most? And I'm going to assume it's going to be aggressive investments.
Well, my biggest stock investments are in companies like Apple, Amazon, Tesla,
Hence,
and
yeah,
they've been aggressive for sure, and they've done well.
exactly, right? So it suits you on that front. Now, if you have outside investments, let's say you may have done investments in real estate or something. Have you ever done that before?
I haven't really done real estate investing. No.
No. Okay,
At
good.
some point
Do
I
you have
will, but
any?
no.
Okay. Do you have any investments that actually you did and it failed?
Yeah, there've been some stocks I bought that did not do well at all. They went to almost zero. Like
Okay.
I made a mistake and I bought oh my God, that fake meat company. What's it called?
Don't know, but yeah, I know what you're
It's
talking
almost
about.
at zero, man. I lost a lot. I lost 10 grand on that one.
Okay, but if you look at that particular stock, it did not suit who you are.
No, it really didn't. But you know, at the time, Beyond Meat. It's called Beyond Meat.
Beyond me, yes, there you go. Beyond me, yes, yes,
I've had a few stocks like that. Not many, but three or
yeah,
four, let's say.
yeah, yeah. But does that make sense what I'm saying to you though?
Yeah.
Like you would have known that if you had understood yourself and understood your energetics to not to buy that, it would not suit you. Obviously, I can't give any stock recommendation. Full disclosure, I'm no longer an advisor, so please don't take any advice. But that being said, you know, but does it make sense what I'm saying to you?
Yeah,
That would
it
have
does.
that would have stopped you and said, like, is this me? Is this who I am? To
No.
understand your energetic.
I hate that crap. I like meat. I don't even know why. I thought, oh my God, this is going to be big. A lot of vegans are going to buy it, but I'm
Right.
never going to buy it. So I should have
Okay.
never done it. But
Yeah, yeah,
Amazon, Tesla, Apple, I buy Apple, I buy Amazon, and at some point I'm going to buy a Tesla. They're my
yeah.
kind of companies.
So very logical, right?
Yeah.
You are very logical, correct? When you take a look at how you think and how they think, it's almost in sync.
Yeah, it
You
is.
you went from heart-centric thinking in that case. You got excited, right? And you went into that with an excitement. Where normally when you buy a stock, how do you normally buy it?
I think this is going to do well. That's what I thought. Like Amazon, I thought Amazon's just growing and growing and growing. So I thought this is a good stock.
Yeah,
And I bought some other stocks right now in AI. Um, and my thinking is AI is just going to get bigger and bigger. So the companies that
right,
are big in AI, that maybe this year it'll be volatile, but next
right.
year it'll get bigger. The year after it'll get bigger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh,
So, so
that's
look at
what I
internal.
think.
So internally, when you think about these things, think about like instinct, intuitively, what kicks in and what is the feeling that you get from that.
I feel a calmness inside, but I get a little excited, but not like emotionally excited, but
Uh-huh.
like my
You feel
brain gets me excited. Like I'm thinking this is going to be great. But I thought about it. Like I did my thinking first. Then I let myself get excited. I didn't just get excited without having thought about it.
right. And Beyond Meat was opposite, wasn't it?
Beyond Meat, I just thought, man, these vegans, they're going to buy it. I just thought they're going to buy it. And I'm like, you know what? But this isn't real meat. It's actually crap. What am I buying it for? Because I'll never eat it. That's the first thing I said to myself. I said, oh my God, this is crap. Why did I buy it?
Okay.
I should have sold it. I should have sold it right away. I,
So you had the inklings right from the beginning, didn't you?
I did.
Right. So what I'm saying to you is that there's a path inside of you that you follow. And there are times where you don't follow that path. What happens when you don't follow the path? Like either down or sideways or you stuck, right? So one of the three things are going on. And the process that I teach with financial chakras is creating the signature financial flow so that you are making decisions from a right space and you are choosing the right thing to do in your life, right? Not just in one area of life, but in 5 areas of life: in health, relationship, business, finance, and spirituality. Correct? So the what financial chakras does, it really helps you understand, you know, how where what's your primary energy, what's your energy flow, how to measure your potential in dollars and your emotions in dollars, and then how do you create a signature financial flow so you can actually build the life that you want, and you can eliminate the downturns more, right? So the less downturns you create, the better it becomes, right, in terms of moving forward your life. So not that downturns are not going to happen, they will always happen, but if you can figure out a way to minimize that, then why not?
Yeah, truly. Truly, truly, truly. It's
But
good.
that's what financial chakra is about. Like, and I've built a system around supporting individuals and entrepreneurs and business owners and so forth, right? Doing that. So
It's a beautiful idea, Ash. It's a beautiful, beautiful idea. So,
thank you.
when someone wants to maximize their potential, how would they engage with this system?
Ah, I'm glad that you asked that question. So, in order for them to maximize the system, I built my systems in 3 tiers. Okay. So, and I'll tell you a story, and then I'll give you the system. All right. So, when I was coming here from India, Nikki, my flight was delayed. Like, at the in the Mumbai International Airport, we had the whole family there, and everybody was telling us goodbye, and we had our visas and all that, and we were getting on the plane, and I thought it was the most beautiful thing ever. Like I have never been in a plane before, right? Yeah, I was a 16-year-old kid. What the heck I know? So I get into a plane. Our plane was supposed to take off at 9 o'clock, and you know how it is. And like in Mumbai International Airport, it's hot and it's muggy, and it didn't take off until like 1:30 at night. And it was like, it was like whoa, like what just transpired within 4.5 hours, But finally, they took off at like 1:30 at night, and we got to London Heathrow, and I was like, wow, it's a beautiful airport. I thought I was in heaven for a minute, okay, and we had a really rough ride, if you will. And as this whole thing was going on, I had to go to the restroom and I had to ask somebody for a restroom, and I didn't know what to ask because I couldn't speak English. So essentially, I got in, and some Indian guy helped me out to go to figure it out. And then I go to tiki counter, and my dad is struggling with the tiki counter lady. She's saying something, he doesn't get it. He's saying something, she doesn't get it. And the Indian lady walks up to us and says, "Okay, first thing she tells us that we have missed our connecting flight." And I'm like, oh my God, that's the worst thing ever. Like we have $20 each. We can't speak English, and we have missed our connect. Now what do we do? But she helps us get the vouchers and all that. And then we were hungry, so we go downstairs to eat at a hotel. And I go downstairs to eat at a hotel, and you know what happens? We
No.
we can't read the menu. So, like, okay, and we are vegetarian, and it's 1989 at the London Heathrow Airport. There are two words, buddy. Good luck. Like, there's only two words for that. Okay. So I said, okay, no problem. So, so this lady walks up to us again, and she says, "Let me help you out." Right? It was just by fluke she walked up, and she helps us get a spaghetti, a salad, and a bread roll. So I'm like, okay, I've never had grass in my life. I'm gonna go for grass. And I go for grass, and it was horrible. Okay. And then I go for spaghetti. It was a plain noodles, like Kung Fu Panda dad, that when he made plain noodles, it was plain boiled noodles. I'm like, okay, great. So I'm gonna go for these noodles, and it was horrible. And then I go for the bread, and the bread was literally like a soup roll, right? English soup roll, and I could not bite that, bite that at all. So we went to bed hungry that night. And then the next morning we got over here. Now, the reason I share the story is that many times in coaching consulting, I find that, the coaches, consultants wants to give you a ticket and say, okay, here's a ticket, go, do your thing, right? And here's your ticket, get on this plane, and hope you're gonna make it, that kind of thing. So for me, my promise to the clients is to take the ride with them all the way to the destination. So to start the journey, right, I have a 3-day event that I do every first of the month. So first Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I do an event to really help them find their flow and really help them understand how to create their signature and all the things that they're looking for. And then I have my daily wealth manifestation. So every day I work with people subconscious programming to really help them keep elevating whatever they are doing. So what my goal is to really help them elevate to the next level. So as far as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, you want to build $1 million business. We created a signature system where I helped you create the breakthroughs. And now the question is, how do you sustain that? Because you create a breakthrough, and the question is, how do you sustain that breakthrough throughout the time? So I created this system where 2 times a day I do daily wealth manifestation. And then I have my VIP mastermind group or I call it a VIP office hours actually. So people come in and they say, okay, I'm still struggling with this internally. How do I deal with that? Or I'm still struggling with this business wise. So how do I deal with that? So I go in and I help them with that. That piece is concerned. And then I have a once a month. All I do is breakthrough events where people can come in and really like real get retuned and realigned, and literally just keep the wheel moving. So what it does, it helps them exponentially grow their cash flows and their businesses, or internally, it helps them grow exponentially. So a lot of times, if I'm working with my clients or I'm working with coaches or consultants, they're just looking for a mechanism where they can sustain that, you know, the growth pattern. Then you're able to do that a lot easily. So that's how they work with me. Very, very easy. I have three-tier system that I have built out, and it's very, very simple, really.
So this 3-day event, it's once a month. Is it in person? Is it on Zoom?
It's on Zoom, buddy. It's on Zoom. Yeah. So 3-day event is on Zoom. It's a $47 to enter and 197 for mid ticket offer, and there's 997 for the high ticket offer. So it's like a three-tier thing. They can purchase whatever they want, that kind of stuff. It's a very, very simple thing. It's a simple mechanism, and I've been doing this for a long time. So and I'm using the same system every time, and I find that people are truly transforming as they go along. Right? Um,
Beautiful.
so yeah. So I've taken about 5,000 entrepreneurs through this so far, and I've taken in terms of like individuals and entrepreneurs as a mixed bag, right? Because a lot of people come to me for and I'm now going into I'm talking to somebody right now for franchising or even licensing models as we speak. But I'm leaning towards franchising as we go along, but we'll see.
Beautiful. Well, the concept of financial chakras is very interesting. And so what's the website you want us to send them to?
Financialchakras.com.
Beautiful. So we end off each episode by asking you, as our guest expert, what are your top 3 expert action steps? These are your 3 best pieces of bullet point advice to help my listener get to the next level. So what do you say?
All right. So if you're when you're listening to this, my friend, first of all, I want to let you know that the no matter what you do, okay, follow simplicity. So let's say that you want to create conviction. Okay, what you're really looking for is conviction as to can you do something and how can you do it and how fast can do it and how much with how much conviction you want to do it with, right? What is the conviction level? Whatever you have done, if you have played any kind of sport, you did it because like for sure that you had a pretty good chance of winning. The question is how did you create that? And you created that with these three steps. First, you believed in your magic, internal magic that you have, right? You believed in that magic, okay? Second, you created a logic of some sort, whatever that logic is. Maybe logic for you is, just start the business, or maybe put up an LLC, or maybe just go invest a dollar, put up a dollar somewhere, right? Wherever you want. But so that's the second step. This logic, okay? What is the logic? And then the third step is, learn to create your own science. Stop following everybody else. Create your own science. These chakras, energetics, right? They are yours. They are like thumbprint. So follow that thumbprint and learn to follow. When you follow that thumbprint, right, is when you become ultra successful. It's not by following other people's formulas. If you take a look at anybody, like recent thing that's going on with my condolences to the guy Charlie Kirk,
Yeah.
as what transpired, right, and to him
Horrible.
and his family. It is
Horrible.
tragedy, right? Horrible. But if you look at his legacy from the other side of it, what he left behind, because what
Beautiful.
he created was his thumbprint. And Charlie, buddy, I'm sorry, I'm giving you an example, but that's what came to mind right away. Okay, so but that being said, okay, but it's a thumbprint, right? That's a thumbprint that he left, and because it's his thumbprint, other people are identifying with that thumbprint and saying, "I want to follow that." Does that make sense? So it's
So,
what do you call the science that he created back in 2012 when he started? People were laughing at him, I'm sure, right? People were mocking him, I'm sure, but not today, correct? So It's why? Because he created his own thumbprint. He believed in the magic that change is possible and open debate is possible. It was just a possibility, right? Then he created his logic. Oh, so what's the logic? What can I do? How can I go? He could have gone to elder centers. He could have gone to dum-dum centers. He could have gone to other places, but he only went to colleges and schools. Why? Because he knows that he internally, he was able to identify with that audience very well. So logic step was, I'm from college, I'm from high school, I'm going to relate with them. Very, very simple logic, very good logic, right? And then the science is, how would I do this? Okay, I'm just going to sit in the middle of the school and just talk to people. That was the basic science he created. But it was his style. Like if you go to PBD podcasts or other people, it's not their style. PBD podcast shows up in a what do you call this thing? In a suit all the time, right? He likes to be he's like you, he's Iranian, like, so he likes to be like you. So it's a thumbprint. Everybody leaves a thumbprint. So what's your signature? What signature you are creating for yourself to create that ultimate conviction that for yourself, not for anybody else, but for yourself, that you know what you do absolutely works. Forget about everybody else. Forget about everything. You follow these 3 steps, you'll get whatever you want.
Great expert action steps. So listener, go to financialchakras.com to find out more about Ash and his amazing programs. The financial chakras concept is unique. No one else in the world is doing it. Ash is a one of one when it comes to this. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend, give us a like, give us a rating, give us a review. And if you have a friend who could use the message, this is a day for sharing. That was a beautiful thing about Charlie Kirk. He shared messages. Be like Charlie. Share this message. Ash, fantastic having you here, brother. God bless you.
Thank you, Nikki, for having me, buddy. Thank you so much. And God bless you as well. And my wish to the universe for your listeners, that it is my wish for everyone, that may it give you all the health, wealth, and happiness that you deserve. That is my message to you.
Amen. And that wraps up another exciting episode of the podcast, The Thought Leader Revolution. To find out more about today's guest, the one and only Ash Shukla, go to the show notes at thethoughtleaderrevolution.com or wherever you listen to this episode, be it iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Rumble, YouTube, or what have you. Until next time, goodbye.
This episode has been brought to you by eCircleAcademy.com, the proven system to add 6 to 7 figures a year to your thought leader practice.